were the first team to really play you physical, like back in week 3?
That's a good question. Yeah, I remember them being like the start of a little stretch of physicality. I remember like from that game, maybe like the next 4 weeks, it felt like teams just were in your face and grabbing and holding and pressing and yeah. So they were the first ones to kind of do that, I think, of the season.
It's a different approach last week. Did they take a different approach against you last week?
No, I don't think so. I think it was pretty similar. I think that's kind of their defensive philosophy is play downhill, play physical, reroute, no timing routes and things like that, no gimmies. If they beat you or if you get a flag, it is what it is. We're not going to make it easy on them.
Is that method effective in today's NFL? Like you kind of just take the ghost penalties or whatever? Do you see a lot?
I think it is if you have the mix of rush and coverage. I think if you don't have an effective rush, I don't think it's an effective strategy just because you tend to have some big plays when you can block it up and guys are able to, if you can, essentially it's man coverage across the board. One guy wins, it's big plays. But if you have guys that can get to the quarterback and you disrupt that timing, I think it can be effective for sure.
Kevin talked about you kind of gutting through a knee injury here through the past. I don't know if it's been the whole season. How long has that bothered you, and what's it been like just playing through that?
Yeah, I mean, every season you're kind of fighting through something, right? But yeah, it's been a while, and every week you just try to get closer to 100% as you can. But then every once in a while a game you bang it, and it takes a little bit to get off the field, and then you hope that next week you kind of get back to as close to where you were the week before. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of I think everybody in this locker room probably is dealing with something. That's just kind of how it is. But as long as you're able to go out there and play and perform and Sunday feel good, that's all you can do.
Is it any different coming back from injuries now that you're a little older, or do you keep yourself in such great shape that it's the same as 7-8 years ago?
No, I don't think so. It's hard to really say. You have different injuries throughout your career. Some maybe are quicker to recover than others, depending on what it is. Maybe it's something that has happened a long time ago and it just kind of comes back up. So, but no, I feel really good. I feel like there's some really good people that I have around me, whether it be in this building or out of the building, that have really helped me along the way. And you kind of figure out a process through your week to be able to get as close to 100% as you possibly can each week, knowing that in this league you're gonna have some nicks and bruises and you never know what it's gonna be, but you find a way each week.
It's been 5 years since clinching the division. I believe the same day as you're going to be playing on Sunday, and that was after a loss too. But what have you shared with some of the younger guys about the importance of trying to go ahead and close that initial goal out?
Yeah, honestly, I think we're kind of taking a little different approach. I think we're just going to go focus on this week. I think, again, I feel like each week we talk about how hard it is in this league to win. And you take the wins and you move on, and you take the losses, you learn from them, and you move on, right? Just because this league will come at you fast if you start thinking about, what if, shoulda, coulda type deal, So really just, long story short, the goal is to come out here to practice today, to get better, to get closer to being prepared for a really tough game on Saturday. I feel like it doesn't matter who you're playing, when you're playing, how you're playing. This league is difficult to win, and you got to bring your best on Saturday. So I think that's kind of the message to the young guys is, hey, don't worry about this or that or what seed you are or how close you are to making the playoffs. Don't worry about that, because if you do that and you start focusing on those things, this league will swarm you up pretty fast.
Adam, when did you kind of learn that for yourself? You were on a couple teams early in your career that had playoff prospects and kind of could get caught watching the scoreboard or think through scenarios. When did you learn to kind of shut all that stuff off?
Yeah, through experience. I think, once you kind of saw, a few years in, how hard it was to make the playoffs, and then how important those last 4 games were, so many years in my career that, it's coming down to the last 2-3 games and must-win games and things like that you just kind of learn that, hey, you gotta focus on each week. And you think about early in the season, sometimes you're like, well, it is what it is. We got a long season, all this stuff. But then you tend to go to those seasons where you miss the playoffs by 1 game, or maybe you made the playoffs by 1 game, and you can look back in the season to maybe to those early games like, man, if we would have just finished that one game, we would be in the playoffs right now. Or man, I'm glad we finished that one game because we are in the playoffs by one game. So I think when you start to realize that, you start to realize how important every single week is. I think that's why last week was so frustrating, because it's like, man, like we're right there. You have that opportunity. Like, we got to do it. We got to go win. We got to treat every game as a must-win, backs against the wall. And I think when you have that mentality, you look back and like, whoa, we're already at this point in the season. Wow, it's crazy. But yeah, every game's so important.
Adam, what's been your view on why maybe the running game has struggled a little bit? I mean, you're not an offensive lineman, but is that something that you guys as receivers still kind of take pride in helping figure out?
Yeah, just like the pass game, the run game, it takes all 11. Again, that's why this game is the greatest team game there is, because it's not a O-lineman thing or a running back thing that the run game's not going. Just as the pass game, it might not just be a receiver thing, right? We take ownership in each individual, each room, and then as an offense that we need to be better. In this league, you have to be versatile. You have to be able to run the ball. You have to be able to throw the ball. You have to be able to, have play action off the running game. To be successful, you have to be balanced. And so we know in this locker room and in our offensive room that it hasn't been good enough in the run game to go to where we want to go. Again, that's everybody looking themselves individually in the mirror of how I could get better. There's things that I could have done better last week in the game individually that could have helped the run game. So you just kind of go and each individually, you don't look to a different group. You look at yourself and you figure out how you can do better. And then you try to apply that to the next weeks of practice. Okay, I'm going to really focus on, okay, what's my assignment? What's my alignment? Where's my target? What guy am I targeting, and who am I supposed to block on each run? And then hopefully that stuff kind of just week after week starts to start to pay dividends.
Wes said that they're maybe like narrowing things down a little bit in the running game. How can that help?
Yeah, I mean, that can always help. I mean, I think doing what you're really good at, what guys feel comfortable doing, I think that can always help. But at the end of the day, when a play is called, those 11 guys that are in that huddle in that particular time, they got to go execute. And it doesn't matter what play is called, you got to go execute. And if you do that, if you can get most of your guys or all of your guys to execute on a particular play, like there's opportunities all over the place, because there's coaches that are working their tails off to put us in good positions. So again, when a play called, go out there and just try your best to execute.
Adam, you guys are losing David Blau to Arizona's active roster. I know he's on the practice squad, but he's a good head for you guys on offense. What kind of loss is that, not having him in the building now anymore?
Yeah, I mean, you know that stuff's going to happen, especially when with the amount of guys that are good football players that are on the practice squad, and not only good football players, they're great communicators, great people in the locker room. He's obviously great to have as far as that communicator, just to say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is how we can attack them. This is as a receiver. This is what I'm seeing from a quarterback perspective. So it's great to have guys that are good people and also talented. I mean, you could see it in practice and throwing routes on air and things like that he's very talented, and he'll do well, and happy for him to have an opportunity.
All right, thanks, Adam.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.